Would you like to lead us in the flag salute, Councilman Kaiser?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do a roll call.
Councilmember Art,
Here.
Councilmember Deutsch,
Here.
Here.
Councilmember Keisler,
Here.
Councilmember Lucchese. Here. Mayor Bryan.
Present. All right, we have no special presentations and announcements for this evening, so I'm going to move us forward to general public comments. This is the time for anyone who'd like to make a public comment on something that is just a general concern to the city or is on the consent agenda. Looks like we only have the check registry on the consent agenda today. So the only thing is the Airbnb or the short-term rentals. That'll come later, and there'll be an opportunity later. So if you'd like to make a comment, and if you're on Zoom, hit *9 if you're calling in, or hit the raise your hand button in the participants tab. Please say your address and name for the record, Mr. Bush.
Michael Bush, 6040 Butterfly Avenue. I had two public comments. The first is that I wanted to say that I support these hybrid meetings so that people can come in or they can stay at home. They have the option. So I support that and thank you for doing that. It's a good idea, but I think word hasn't even gotten around yet that, you know, that you can actually come in here and talk. So I think that's why a lot of people, we don't have the normal amount that we used to have before. The second thing I wanted to mention was on the Blackberry timber harvesting plan, which is right up here and pointing directly at Blackberry Hill. Soda Creek Ridge is behind that. But Blackberry Hill is in the main view shed of Dunsmuir, right there. And I have, here's the plan, about 200 pages. I have read it. I know quite a lot about it. If somebody wants to know something about it, I'll probably be able to help them. And because so many people don't know what's going on. One thing I wanted to bring up tonight was the road that they're putting in, kind of like a necklace, a logging road, a main logging road, right like this on the summit, around the summit of the western slope of Blackberry Hill. It's right in the main view shed of Dunsmuir. It's right there. And it hangs down, looks kind of like a necklace. It goes up and it goes up over around the ridge. And there's a switchback back up in this area. So that's quite a bit of road up there and in the main view shed of Dunsmuir. I wanted to give the public comment email so that if somebody wants to comment on that, they can. So I'll do that now to CAL FIRE. But it's very close to the public comment period ending. I'm not sure the exact date, but it's very close. And but even after that, people can write in if they want to. It will just not be official, I suppose, if they wanted to write in. So the public comment period for anything on the Blackberry timber harvesting plan, the units, any clear cutting, the thinning, anything you want to say, that email address is Reading Public Comment at fire.ca.gov. So anybody can comment on anything you want. You don't have to be a resident of the town. You can be from LA if you want to. Anybody can comment on that. But we're very close to the end of it, and I don't know the exact day when it ends for sure. So be aware of that road. It's a main logging road. It'll be used for all the timber harvesting units south of us. They're all going to run right over that road, right over the top of Butterfly Avenue in the main view shed of Dunsmuir. I've talked to the person who wrote the plan.
Yeah.
I've
Um,
talked,
Michael, you're at the end of your 3 minutes, but if you want to conclude briefly.
okay, thank you. I've talked to the person who wrote the plan. I've read the plan. I made several comments to CAL FIRE. So I know quite a bit about it. If someone would like to know, I will try to help them.
Thank you so much. We
Thank you,
appreciate your public
Michael.
comment. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, welcome back.
All right, is there any further public comment? Perhaps on Zoom?
I don't see anybody on Zoom that is raising their hand.
All right, seeing none, I'll close general public comments and move on to council and staff comments. City manager?
Yeah, so as always, we've got a ton of stuff going on. Yeah, solid waste negotiations are on track. And we're meeting again next week, which will, after next week, if we've got everything we need done, we'll be moving into inviting our members of the public to join us to hammer out what additional services that we'd like to see from our current waste hauler, and work through those and, you know, and understand what we're willing as a community to pay for some of these new services. So that's good news. We're on track. Working right now on a community development block grant program income grant for planning services. That is to create a downtown economic revitalization plan, direct retail outreach, and anything that we can get with you know, our little bit of program income match. And we're looking for between 250,000 to 300,000. And I am working to line up for their August 5th meeting for retail strategies. One of the companies I've been talking to come out and, you know, if they can't come in person because their main offices are in Texas, to give us a presentation via Zoom so you get an idea of what they can do and what they can't. So, and then the other piece of this, as you all know, we were able to open the airport early on our reconstruction project, got it done 2.5 weeks early. We had the ribbon cutting. An hour after the ribbon cutting, I got a call from the regional head of the Forest Service Aeronautics to say they wanted to stage a couple choppers up at the field that evening because they had dry lightning in the forecast. Nothing happened that evening, but the next night the lava fire happened and was struck with dry lightning, and we've had the airport closed ever since. And we have from 8 to 10 helicopters up there, you know, making runs all day long. And I guess to note, we did have a crash last night of one of those helicopters into Lake Shastina, you know, a hard landing, and the pilot made it out okay and was able to swim to shore. Yep. So really good news that we're really fortunate that we got this thing opened early, that we got the money, and you know, we're able to stage and be able to respond within a matter of minutes as opposed to waiting for you know, helos to come from Reading. You know, Reading still providing support with C-130s, but you know, a lot of the work is being done right up here at our airfield.
Excellent. Thank you.
If I could just note that they're not coming out of Weed Airport, they're coming out of Dunsmuir Airport.
Greenway State, date, when? I'd like to announce that.
What's coming up next week?
I need to look at the date again.
Wasn't it the 16th?
16. So we have Green Waste Day set. It typically we hold this on a weekend. In this case, we have a situation where we need to go with an outside vendor that is only open during the week. So next Friday, the 16th, between 8 a.m. and noon. We will be holding Green Waste Day. We have volunteers to direct people to one of two 30-yard waste containers. They will be picked up once at noon, and they'll bring them down back again for stragglers that are in a little bit late for one final drop off, and then they'll take those 30-yard containers back up to Wairika Transport, Blackbeef Transfer Station, make their dump, and that'll be it. So it's on. We've got all the people we need. Everything's in place.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I'd like to mention and reiterate, it's green waste. Don't show up with tires, refrigerators, mattresses. It's green waste. Brush, sticks, twigs, grass, leaves, branches, green waste, not tires, refrigerators, and mattresses. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Councilman Ar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, colleagues, members of the public. Three items. The first is Dunsmuir got through the 4th of July. Thank you to the magnificent cooperation of all the citizens that kept their fireworks at home. It wasn't that way in every community, and the understanding that this was not the year to fire them off shows a community spirit that I think ought to be recognized and valued. The other two are sort of directed to you, Mr. Presiding Officer. The last regular meeting where we were talking about the short-term rental ordinance, we had what I considered a hate communication on the screen. And I have yet to hear the city say anything about that incident. And of course, that's up to the leadership of the city, but I want everyone to understand there's no place in this community for hate speech. California is in the middle of a rise in anti-American and anti-African-American behaviors. And if you want to exhibit those behaviors, go somewhere else.
And to clarify, the matter has been referred to law enforcement. We're working with them.
And
Well,
there-
I don't think we should be quiet about it.
No.
So just to add to that, in talking to the sheriff's office, it doesn't rise to the level of a hate crime. It actually has to be a words directed at a particular person for them to take action, at least in, up here. I don't know if another jurisdiction would view it differently, but they say they can't take action on it.
At a minimum, it ought to be reported to the California Attorney General. Attorney General Bonta has a special unit
Okay.
to try to stop this.
Don't bring that crap to our neighborhood, right?
And I know that Wendy, our illustrious city clerk, has worked with Zoom to report the handle and identify the individual as well. So
Thank you.
we have taken those steps.
The third one is our meeting on the budget, and for all the work that two former mayors put into the protocols, Mayor Spurlock and Mayor Craig. And I had a brief conversation with former Mayor Lucchese. Why can't the four males behave when she's gone? I don't know. But there should be
It wasn't
no
technically-
there should be no room for colleagues calling out colleagues with personal commentary. There should be no room for standing up at the end of the meeting and saying, to hell with it, I'm not going to vote. So I wish there will be no further incidents of that behavior. And if it is, Mr. Mayor, that you don't let it go. Because if you want that kind of stuff, you'll get that kind of stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Art. Councilwoman Lucchese?
Thank you. I'm happy to see everybody in person. I would like to remind everybody to still take a look at the public health. Siskiyou County Public Health is offering vaccinations via a van now with a registered nurse. So if you are not vaccinated or you've had difficulty making it to an appointment, I believe the vans are in town on Thursdays. But you can contact the Community Resource Center. You can contact the Department of Public Health to arrange to get your vaccination. The more of us that are vaccinated decreases the amount of variants that are in the area. I know the new one is the Delta variant. And it really is coming down to people who are being vaccinated versus unvaccinated. My husband got COVID and had no symptoms whatsoever because I was able to be vaccinated ahead of time, and it does make a huge difference. And so I ask everybody to really continue to make a strong effort to go get those vaccinations, do your research and get the vaccination that's right for you and your healthcare outcomes. But that's going to be what's going to get us back to a more normal community. Granted, there are going to be some significant changes for the better, I think, in the future. So just reminding everyone of those resources that are available to you, and vaccinations are free. So if someone is making you pay for those, please also contact the Department of Public Health. Those should be free to you regardless of health insurance status. Other items is the city manager and I had another meeting with the California Parks Department to finish up some of the Prop 68 paperwork for the Children's Park acquisition. So hopefully we'll be moving forward with escrow on those properties in the next couple weeks. The state, unfortunately, is very busy with a number of the applications. So we're trying to get them to move as quickly as possible so we can get that project completed as soon as possible. So thank you for that. Other than that, I don't think I have any other updates today that I can remember.
Thank you. Councilman Deutsch?
Thank you. I just wanted to publicly comment on the retirement of Bill Willman. And how many years? 30, 34?
36.
36 years serving the city of Dunsmuir and the community. And I salute him, and I have always appreciated his quiet way he showed his love for the community and the people of it. And we'll miss you, and thank you for your service. I just wanted to take the opportunity of talking about short-term rentals. I know that what we'll be talking about later will be how we're dealing with what we have to have, which are vacation homes and people that actually buy houses to create Airbnbs. We had a letter last time we talked about this from somebody that chastised our city planner, which I thought was inappropriate. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about it, where he basically said that we're doing you a favor by buying a house and turning it into an Airbnb because of all the money we'll make from it. We had 9 people graduate from my high school this year, 9 people. I'm wondering, with all the money we make from these Airbnbs, how many students can we purchase? How many families can we purchase? Because every Airbnb that is run simply as a house or a home dedicated to making money without the person at least living there is taking away a family from our community, is taking away an opportunity for a business to grow and flourish. So when we talk about Airbnbs, I recognize that right now we're kind of hopeless in terms of what we can do legally, but I have no love whatsoever for somebody who buys a home in Dunsmuir and turns it into a profit-making thing, taking away from the family, the school, the community, and everything that goes with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Deutsch. Councilman Parsons?
Yeah, I want to echo what Bruce said about Bill. Every day that guy's out there, rain or shine. He was a diehard, true blue, and he will be missed. I thank you for your service, Bill. The pool is open. It was nice to see all the kids out there, adults too. It's in the paper. I was going to say, I didn't remember. I was going to bring it, but I left it on the coffee table. It's a complete schedule. And I want to thank Kim for stepping back up. I want to thank the lifeguards that signed up again. And I especially want to thank the lifeguards from Weed that came down to fill the positions that were mandatory for us to have to make that pool open. I know everybody from the Parks and Recreations, especially my neighbor Tim Pierce, they did an outstanding job of getting that pool ready under crunch times, in intensive heat, in dire circumstances, and they did a fantastic job. And if you see the looks on the people's faces that are in the water, it kind of makes it all worth it. The other thing I want to say is that I am so grateful so grateful for our airport opening, for the effort that went into that. I commend everybody involved. And I really want to appreciate and do a shout out to all the firefighters and the families of the firefighters. Some of these families haven't seen their guys in 2 weeks. So thank you. God bless you and be safe. And the last thing I want to say is on the issue of fire. Again, Green Waste Day is Friday, the 16th from 8 to 12. We'll be out there. Bring us your leaves, your branches, all the stuff around your house, trim. It's time to clean up the yard, make it fire safe around your house. Now's the time to do it. It's at the ballpark, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's at the ballpark. Come on, bring your stuff down. Let's get rid of it. And I guess I should apologize for any, for getting pissed at the last meeting. Sorry, it happens. Don't play me that way. It won't get there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Keisler. Yes, I'd like to echo everyone's gratitude for our firefighters, et cetera, but I also want to extend it to, in times of these emergencies, you realize just how much infrastructure we have in place and relies on some magnificent people that do a lot. I'd like to thank our chief, our city manager, and the entire city staff for looking after the city. I realize anyone who works in any position in Dunsmuir ends up having to multitask. It's such a small operation in a way that they don't have to in many, many places. So I appreciate that. And I apologize for my role and perhaps not having the most congenial ending to the last meeting. I think we should step back and recognize that this council is making tremendous incremental progress. And civility at our meetings is actually a hallmark of this council compared to prior councils. And
we're
I
human.
definitely want to keep it that way.
And we're human.
Well, yeah, anyway. But I'd like to thank council for all that we've accomplished in the last 2.5 years that I've been on council here. And I look forward to accomplishing a great deal more with you guys' help. Thank you. We could move forward to committee reports.
I can say that we have our next water sewer rate study meeting coming up Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
Okay, Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Where's that going to be? Zoom or in person?
We're going to do a hybrid meeting. It'll be here, and anybody that wants to join on Zoom, they can.
And again, basically what we're doing now is coming up with the process of explaining and informing and educating on what's involved in each of the systems and the money and where it comes from and all that. So we have the decisions on what we're going to propose, but it's really coming up with a coherent and cogent message that it gets the point across. So that's what we're working on right now.
Do we have an idea of when 218 process might begin? September or so? Just roughly.
So I wasn't at that last meeting. My understanding post that meeting is we're looking at September. So yeah.
We might be able to even line it up with solid waste. Okay. Well, all right, thank you so much. I'm not sure if any committees had the chance to meet on the holiday weekend.
Nope.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Let's move forward to item 7, approval of the minutes. We have 2 minutes to approve. The regular meeting on June 17th and the special meeting on June 24th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 17th meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Against? Motion carries unanimously.
I make a motion to accept minutes, approve the minutes from the June 24th meeting.
Second.
Second.
All right, any discussion of the motion at hand? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against?
And I'll abstain due to absence.
Motion carries. Item 8, the consent agenda for this evening is just the check registry from June 12th through July 2nd. Are there any questions regarding the consent agenda?
I make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Against? Motion carries unanimously. So we have no public hearing this evening, if I'm understanding it correctly. And we will move directly into our only real item of business this evening. The first reading of the short-term rental ordinance, 570. So this is what we left off on our June 17th meeting. There's a lot of input from the public, and a couple of issues came up that council wanted clarification on. I want to commend our city planner for putting together such a professional and informative response to some of those issues. Rico, would you like to take it from here?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, to be honest, I wasn't intending a large prepared staff report like I usually do. We kind of hit on the issues of the last meeting. At this point, the hope is to follow up, provide you with additional information relative to what you discussed, and to provide you with options. So, fundamentally, the biggest issue here is and first of all, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just don't want to waste your time.
We will let you.
Perfect. Thank you. So it's really the 1 year of ownership prior to rental, right? This is, I mentioned at the last meeting, and I apologize. It's tough when you can't hear your planner to actually get a good informed basis to actually do anything. So I apologize. I don't know what happened last time. Hopefully it never happens again. But what I noted at the last meeting was that this requirement barely survived being put in the package that's before you. It really was kind of, all the planning commissioners that discussed it were, not all the commissioners, but the majority of the planning commissioners who discussed it were opposed. And yet it was sort of pushed forward for the city council to decide on. And that's not the way it should be done, but that is the way it was done. I am not a big fan of this. I leave it to the city council to decide. So with regard to this issue, you've got two options. You've got option A, which is included in attachment A, which includes the 1 year ownership requirement. And you've got option B, which is in attachment B, which has that ownership requirement removed. It's otherwise ordinance 570 in those two attachments is identical. That is the only difference. So I'll leave that to you to decide, but it is the one issue that has caused the greatest amount of discussion and concern from the public. And it seems to be the hang up here. So again, I leave that to you to decide. With regard to public pools and spas, this is an ongoing issue. Even after the last meeting, I followed up with the county again. This was the third time that I've been talking to these folks about this requirement. What it comes down to is yes, and I found the state laws where it says very much that these are subject to inspection, contrary to the position taken by Mr. Dewey. Now, that's okay. I do not claim to be a professional expert in pool safety, right? So I really do have to rely upon the people that implement this, which is the Siskiyou County Environmental Health Division of the Community Development Department.
Mr. Mayor, can I interrupt, please? I just think that we would be much more productive if we took an issue, had a chance for public comment, and then came up and moved back rather than get a whole list of them and then figure out what we're going to talk about. That's my recommendation.
I appreciate that, but I'd like Rico to give what he'd like to give to add to his report.
Okay.
Then we'll proceed.
And what I'll do, Councilmember Deutsch, is I'll actually speed up and sort of summarize this so that we can come back and discuss this further rather than having to spend too much time. So anyway, I do leave it to the Siskiyou County Environmental Health Division. They have recommended that they do request that this language be in here. They haven't requested, they simply state that if we do not require this, they will not know and the public will be at greater hazard. So with regard to the no duty enforce provision, this again, it's no one seemed to be opposed to this before having the language removed when Councilmember Arth expressed concern about it. And speaking with the city attorney, just because he had reviewed the ordinance, wanted to make sure he was okay with it, that we eliminated this, spoke with Mr. Kenny, and he was fine with it. So that language has been removed from the both versions of 570, attachment A and attachment B. The fee structure issue, what I found is I talked to Shasta County because they sort of approach it the way the council considered approaching it previously, with different fee structures depending upon whether it's a hosted homestay or a no host vacation rental. And what I got from Shasta County is they're losing money doing it that way. It still requires the same amount of staff time, which is what I'd expect. And basically what they said was they have a $459 initial fee, a I believe it's a $150 reinspection fee annually. And what they're saying is that that $459 is probably a little low. They're losing money. I would expect, again, the city council sets the fee after we do a fee study on this. I think the 2 to 3 hours that they recommend are reasonable. I think that if anything, we're probably looking at a fee around $550 max. I did run through some numbers real quick using known salaries of staff. And, I think we're right about this. I think maybe possibly the big issue is that they're using Granicus to do their code compliance for their short-term rentals, which adds a fair bit of cost per unit. Revenue impacts, I apologize, Mr. Mayor, that is a difficult topic to determine. What I try to do is simply provide you with the, let you know how much TOT these 71 short-term rentals are bringing in, so that you can kind of come up with what you think may happen. But I will say this, it's not just the short-term rentals that are unable to continue operating because they don't have off-street parking or whatever it may be. There are also short-term rentals that are going to be able to possibly host fewer people because they don't satisfy as having multiple bedrooms, so they have fewer guests. Fewer guests equals less money. Less money to them means less TOT for us. So in your considerations, just take that in mind as well. And then with regard to the other issues, which was the preamble to draft ordinance 570 has been revised to hopefully provide additional support for the city's decision to adopt the short-term rental regulations should it choose to do so. And I understand, Councilmember Arth, that these, the whereases are not probably not as exhaustive as they could be, but hopefully we've strengthened the argument some. Thank you. And with regard to, everything else is the same. CEQA, I still recommend that's exempt from CEQA. Ultimately, if you are going to be making a motion on this tonight, there is a motion for you on page 4 of your staff report, which is page 17 of the agenda packet. And as you will see, it basically says that blah, 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 that we introduce and read ordinance 570 included as attachment, fill in the blank. So again, option A has the 1 year of ownership still maintained. And then in option B, that has been removed.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rico. We really appreciate such thorough response. Format-wise, what we'll do is clarifying questions on his report now, open it up to public comment, then we'll move forward to discussion. So let's really refrain from any direct conversation on thoughts, opinions about it, just clarification from Rico. Councilman Arth.
Well, so Rico, if you were going to make the strongest argument you could in favor of attachment A and the 1 year provision, what would that look like?
To be perfectly honest, Councilmember Arth, I'm not a fan of the 1 year ownership requirement, and I would not personally, if I were voting, select option A.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, Councilman Deutsch.
When we're talking about the public safety and pools and spas for the Airbnbs and such, what I'm understanding is that on one hand, somebody like Cave Springs, because they are open, they have different requirements than what we're proposing here, which is not an annual inspection, as I understand it, but instead is an inspection at the beginning to make sure that whatever facility you have has that particular safety feature in it. And then there would not then be an annual requirement for them to get recertified. Is that correct?
That's correct. Now there, so as far as the initial registration, yes, the city has no interest in ever inspecting these facilities. But as far as environmental health, my understanding is that I think frankly, what they're looking for are anti-entrapment devices.
Right.
And then if you have something larger like a pool, they may be looking at water chemistry as well, make sure that there's, you're not creating a breeding ground for West Nile virus. So they may, but I will tell you, talking to it's a sliding scale for their inspection costs for people that do, like Louis Dewey, that need to have these facilities like their pool inspected annually. If it's something where they're coming out once a year, I believe they said their fees around $50-something. And if they've got to come out multiple times in the year, it's upwards to $150-something. So these fees, even when they do require, ongoing inspection, say a swimming pool, which I'm not aware of any short-term rentals with swimming pools in Dunsmuir, then you would have probably annual inspections.
If we were just having a person with a hot tub and they were inspected and found out that they had the anti-trap mechanism in place, would it be safe to assume that we wouldn't get involved with them again in the future?
So when I was with the county and we were doing these, we would require these one-time inspections within, environmental health was in the community development department that I was in. As far as I know, that was a one-time thing at the county, so I can't imagine that they would ever have cause to come back again.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess on the topic, would it be possible to just have a very general statement saying that they shall conform to the health mandates, from county health? I mean, that county health holds jurisdiction over all of Dunsmuir. Couldn't we just kind of make it more vague and not call out the swimming pools per se?
Oh, absolutely, 100% you could, yes.
Yeah.
Councilman McCabe?
Rico, just for the record today, in case we have anybody new on the line, could you maybe go over the discussion that was had at the planning commission level in terms of license capping and in terms of total number of licenses and why we're not moving forward with that at this time?
Yeah, the reason I didn't recommend a cap is that it doesn't seem that we have a sufficient number of short-term rentals to generate that type of concern. Again, what I counted was, I believe, 71 short-term rentals, and I believe 58 or 48 unique individual properties. So relative to the number of short-term rentals we have relative to our vacancy rate seems to be quite low. So in that we've always had a high vacancy rate in Dunsmuir because of desirability and affordability of homes here as second homes. And this is an issue that we've had for a long time. And I think, yes, this is a platform of growing interest, but I do believe we've had these vacation rentals in Dunsmuir for many years as people have basically rented out their second homes to offset their mortgage. And I just, from my perspective, I don't see those numbers justifying a cap at this time. And frankly, what we're proposing is a registration process that will allow us to track in real time the number of short-term rentals that we have operating in the city. And that will continue to inform us and frankly, so that we can determine when is an appropriate time to place a cap or to place a moratorium on short-term rentals, or how to handle this situation differently.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to remember, whenever we talk about the 71 short-term rentals, that does include hotel rooms such as the Osprey.
Okay.
So when we did the initial ad hoc, I think we were using 38 as the closest we could get to number of Airbnbs. But
that's correct. It included Puffer Billy Suites, it included Dunsmuir Hotel, it included Osprey Hotel. So we had a fair number of units that, Todd and I were having this conversation earlier today, that are sort of in this gray area. And it really gets down to how you define short-term rental as being approved for residential use. I think that, some of these things like the Osprey Hotel are really boutique hotels.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
thank you so much. Are there any other clarifying questions of our city planner? Thank you so much, Rico. I'm going to open us up to public comment. Each person, please come forward, say your name, address for the record. You'll be allowed 3 minutes to comment on the short-term rental ordinance. people in the room first.
Louis.
Gentleman and lady, I've been here before. Frankly,
Could you speak into the? mic a
yes,
little
I'd
bit
be
more?
happy
Sorry.
to. So this is Louis Dewey, and I live at 4727 Dunsmuir Avenue. And I'm looking over here and I'm reminded that, this discussion,
Louis, can you just pick up the mic, maybe because you're so tall? Yes.
We need to get a
I'm
better
sorry.
podium.
I would much rather be talking about something really important, which is what was referred to at last meeting, which was the planning, overall planning for the city of Dunsmuir. But I can't do all that. So one of the things that what I'm talking about right now is, okay, the difference between, let's say, let's not add any more vacation rentals, but let's increase the income that we get out of vacation rentals. Pretty simple. You got a vacation rental renting for $89 a night, put in a hot tub, now you got a vacation rental for $189 a night. So it adds things that you can't do without taking away houses. It's a good idea. All right. If what we speculated here, Bruce suggested it, and Rico confirmed that, well, maybe they only need to come in because they're the county. They only need to come in and look at the hot tub once and see if it has cover. If that's the case, guys, I'm done. Fine with that. That's great. They should all have covers. They really need to have covers, but that has not been the county's position, and I wish that we could have them here. I love the 2 rigs up there. I can't wait to get the inspectors in on my swimming pool, because they really help establish what needs to be done to keep people safe. It's a no-brainer. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about, you go out and buy a hot tub at Home Depot, and you bring it in, you lay it in your backyard, and everybody has a good time. And your house looks like all the houses advertised on Airbnb, where people are falling out of jets and landing in pools, and all those great commercials. It makes us competitive again. All right. What happens when the county? There was this great discussion. It focused on one of the most serious things that could possibly happen. And I can't tell you how statistically insignificant it is. But nevertheless, all the hot tubs should have that. And they all do. When you buy a hot tub, they all have that. Well, so they mentioned that, okay, the hot tubs may be more than 12 years old. I think we could figure out very easily how many hot tubs there are in the whole town of Dunsmuir, and certainly how many hot tubs there are in vacation rentals, because there's like 3 or 4. I think there's maybe 4 that I know.
Okay, your time's up if you want to have a sentence to
Is
conclude.
that my?
Your time's up, but if you want to
Wrap it
conclude
up.
briefly.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna make a couple of points. The problem with this is the wording of when it says pool, spa, sauna, shared facilities are considered public facilities and shall be submitted all that stuff. So what they didn't mention with the environmental Alexander Graham Bell Act, the Virginia Graham Baker Act is that every 5 years, you have to have your hot tub inspected and have a new rate put on, and you have to hire a licensed person to do that. And so 2016, I did that. And there's only one up here, and you can ask every hotel around here, this happens to everybody, to have them come down, put 3 screws in the bottom and 3 screws on the top, and then go into my hot tub and put 4 covers on the valves.
Please
It
conclude,
costs
Mr. Dewey.
$670.29. I mean, that's what you do when you're doing public. And there are lots more rules.
Please conclude.
That's what the county has done. So what I am going to just pass around, I'd like you all to see, this is Shasta County's, and this is, the town of Truckee. Well, that's where ours came from. There's no mention of public pools, public inspections, etc.
Thank you, Mr.
So,
Dewey. Do you want to give it to the clerk?
all that
we'll
would have to happen is remove K or whatever it was from the old list. Okay.
Thank you.
But I do want you guys to have.
Is there any further public comment? If you put them there, we'll
You
get
can
them.
give them to me and I'll make sure they get them.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
I was going to public comment, but I hope you guys understand. You guys all talking to your microphone. You don't have to worry about it. This is not a reflection on what we're doing. But, you know, you told me up to your mouth like this. I don't feel comfortable doing up here and talking. But the whole idea is for you now. You're not going to have to do something, you know.
Is this part of your comment?
Not on the short-term rental. I'm saying, I guess I thought it was a comment.
Well, what you can do
You
is you
can-
can wear your mask and you can use this microphone right here real quick.
Okay, my name is Michael Bush, 6040 Butterfly Avenue. Hopefully we'll figure something out about that. On the short-term rental, I've only read this quite a while ago, the ordinance 570. And I only have a general comment, really. It seems, just to put it bluntly, it's really wishy-washy. It's not much, not many teeth to it. And the way it was explained to me is that this is kind of a preliminary, I mean, it's an ordinance. It's more to find out how many rentals we have, and then maybe do something a little bit different later on. In other words, it's not preliminary ordinance, but you kind of see what I'm saying. It'll be an actual ordinance. But the first purpose of it is to give you more information, because you'll be able to license these people or regulate them. Is that basically what's happening here with this ordinance? That's my question. You just want more information, and this is the way to get the information?
Thank you, Mr. Bush.
There's nothing wrong with that. I just wondered what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. Is there any more public comment on Zoom? If you want to make any public comment, you can go to the participants tab and click the raise your hand button, or hit *9 if you're dialing in. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment on this item for this evening. I'll have a quick response to the last public comment. No, we're making this ordinance with the best information we have now to regulate Airbnbs currently. If we do get more information in the future and other issues come up, of course, we have the option of revisiting it. I hope we would, but there's nothing preliminary about the intention here. Mr. Mayor.
Yes. In addition to that, by putting in place these processes, these administrative processes, we get a better understanding of the situation, which would inform us down the line as to whether or not we want to change or not.
Right. Yeah, so we took the best information we can gather today and are regulating it as we understand it.
So I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Is it possible to do like Louis says on page 23, 17-40-060, the operational standards? If we go all the way to page 25 and take a look at K, can we just omit K and accept this as it is?
Mr. Mayor, you would have to, in fact, I was just pulling that up out of that discussion. I believe you also need to, yes, you can recommend, when you make the motion, you can make the motion that we also strike 1740-060K, as Councilmember Big Dave just said. And also 1740-040B10 is one of the disclosure requirements on the application. So I would recommend eliminating both of those. The only other mention of pool in the draft ordinance at this point is within the whereases,
Okay.
which is in the first one. And it simply says that due to concerns about entrapment in pools, spas, and spas, as in addition to other things.
Okay, Rico, I'm with you. I can make that motion, K.
Okay.
But you said the second one was where?
Yes. So
Yep.
the two numbers that you want are 1740 040, B as in boy, 10, and 1740 060, K as in kitten.
So they're both in the same category. It's E and K.
No,
They come up in under different portions of the regulations. One is on the application process, and one is on the, I believe, operational standards.
Thank you so much, Rico. If you might have to guide us there.
Okay.
Dave wants to make that motion, but I guess I want to ask city manager if in the process of legal review, any, well, whether this subject came up and whether any liability shifts to the city if we were to omit anything. That'd be my only concern. Otherwise, I don't see this as a sticking point.
Todd, would you like me to take this?
Go ahead.
Okay. So as far as liability, I did not have this discussion with Mr. Kenny about liability of removing this provision. And as Mr. Dewey did note, a lot of folks do not include this provision in their ordinance. So one of the issues is, yes, this ordinance did originate, well, it originated before Truckee, to be honest. But the version that we got came from Truckee. And no, Truckee does not have this requirement included. The reason that you have that is because I had spent the previous 5 years approving these things throughout Siskiyou County with use permits, and this is a standard requirement. So when I looked at this, I thought, what are we missing here? Why is the county doing this? So and when I was tailoring this for the community of Dunsmuir, recognizing the way we've done things in Siskiyou County, I called Community Development Director Rick Dean, who I actually did ask to be at tonight's meeting, and Rick did offer to be at tonight's meeting, and I apologize. However, he is leaving for vacation and a wedding tomorrow, and the last thing I wanted to do is put additional pressure on him when he's trying to get ready to leave for a wedding. So I called Rick and I spoke with him and I asked him, say, Rick, just for clarification, is this really required? Is this, are these public facilities, are these private facilities? Because I don't want to subject someone to regulations that they're not subject to. And he said, yes, these are, these are very much, the state requires that these facilities be inspected. And that's what we do. However, if we don't know about them, we can't inspect them. When I had this, and it kept coming up through the ad hoc process, and I spoke to Mr. Kenny about this, not about liability, but I said, Mr. John, we've got an issue with, whether or not the county really has authority here with regard to these laws. And he says, what are you trying to do? And he said, we're trying to keep, we're trying to keep kids from drowning. He said, why do you care whether the county has authority here? This is a public safety matter. If you want to protect public health and safety, leave it in. But I will tell you again, no one else has these in their ordinances except for Siskiyou County that I've encountered. I'm not an attorney. I can't tell you whether there's liability here, but you're correct. This is the county's, they have the legal authority here, not the city. If you do not require them to be inspected, that is, are you incurring liability? I don't believe so, but I don't know. I would simply, for me, it was about protecting public health and safety.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Deutsch actually would
Okay.
like to make a statement first.
I was just going to what Louis said.
I just what I wanted to understand here is if we were simply to take out the reference to inspections and simply say must be in accordance with health regulations, would that get us to the same place?
I would think that would cover us as far as
We have no control over what the inspections will be. It's really out of our hands by reality's sake. with the
They
number of
are
inspectors.
correct. So in that regard, I would frankly, the way I would do that is I would leave K in, which is simply, this is the operational standards, right? It doesn't say that we are inspecting them. By leaving K in, it basically says,
Excuse me, Rico, your volume's going down a little bit.
is this better?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, my microphone slid. So that leave K in, because what that's saying is basically, hey, you need to get these things, you need to have them inspected by the county.
They are inspected, Rico. They're inspected every 5 years. at a cost of
Excuse me, Councilman Kessler,
$649.
I think
No,
we
no,
can-
understood. So what we're saying is you're just saying under operational standards, you shall get them inspected. But by eliminating, as Mayor Brian noted, by eliminating the requirement, I believe Mayor Brian noted, from the requirement for the application process, for the registration certificate requirements of 1740.040B, which is the application process, and 10, where they have to disclose the type of public facilities, including pools, spas, saunas, and shared laundry facilities, and evidence of inspection of same. If we're to eliminate that provision, then you're basically saying, yes, you must get inspected by the county if you have public facilities, but we're not saying that we're going to be checking to make sure that you have done so prior to issuing you a certificate.
Could you go over that one again? Because I'm very much in favor of perhaps not getting involved with this, but still
Okay.
do county health for health
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah. So if you, again, so it's on, I apologize, I don't have this numbered, but and specifically, I don't know that it makes a difference, but I am looking at attachment B of the staff report, and under 1740.040, which is registration certificate requirements, under subsection B, which is the application process, you go down to the application the requirement number 10 under that application process, where the applicant is required to disclose the type and location of public facilities, including pools, spas, saunas, and shared laundry facilities, and evidence of inspection of same by the Siskiyou County Environmental Health Division for compliance with state regulations within the previous 6 months. You also note that it says public facilities do not include facilities that are not available for use by the guests. I would simply, if you wish to do that, I would, in the motion on page 4 of your staff report or 17 of the agenda packet, and you indicate which attachment you are favoring, I would simply note with the, I would say I make the motion, blah, 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 with the change that we eliminate section 1740.040 B10 to eliminate the requirement for inspections prior to registration.
But still keep that they have to identify that they have them, right?
No. I would that they won't even be disclosing it to us. But what we are saying under the operational standards of 1740.060K, we're saying, hey, if you have these and you're making them available to your guests, they are considered public facilities, and they shall be subject to Siskiyou County Environmental Health Department review for compliance with state regulations.
Yeah,
At that point, we're out of it. At that point, we're just telling them you need to do this per state law. You're advised, but we're not going to ensure that you have had these facilities inspected.
it shifts the liability in this, at least I'd imagine, off of Dunsmuir entirely for the enforcement. You still need to comply with any health standards in your county.
Businesses for the pool are inspected every 5 years, and they gotta get a stamp every 5 years. We do each Saturday night and explain to us that he's not the only one. Everybody that's got a pool pays $649 every 5 years to get their pool inspected. Every year they come out and they inspect that pool. That's already part of the deal. What we're trying to do is add more burden to that. I'd be in favor of keeping 10 and get rid of K. That way at least they got to inform us and let us know they're there.
Rico, could K be amended to just require that proof of inspection be provided? So instead of requiring an inspection, requiring proof of inspection. So in the case of Councilmember Keisler, what he's bringing up or what Louis Dewey commented on, they should have a letter saying that they've been inspected within 4 or 5 years. Here's proof of inspection that it's up to current code, and then we're good.
I'm still stuck by the idea that if we in any way say that they have to have an inspection, we're going to be putting all kinds of people in limbo for who knows how long, because all of a sudden Dunsmuir is going to add a whole bunch of inspections that none of the other cities do.
Well, we do have a provision in the
They all
ordinance.
get inspected every 5 years if you've got a pool and it's public.
Well, going back to what you brought up, in the ordinance, it does have a section that they have, I believe, Rico, correct me if I'm wrong, 6 months to come into compliance.
Correct.
So not everyone will need to do that all at once.
Okay.
Right. The intent is to have these regulations go into effect on January of 2022, January 1.
So they'll have plenty of time to space those out. But I think maybe just changing it to proof of inspection. So if they are already getting these, they'll have that already. So then they're done. They've
We'll
met
be
the,
forced to do it again.
Well, I'm kind of concerned about how this is going to practically play out, especially with lack of really comprehensive enforcement. You know, the city doesn't have time to track down where all Airbnb owners are at. It's going to be yearly at best. But I do see a lot of Airbnbs that could add a hot tub as soon as they, you know, get their license from us. And we get into a weird world where some people will be in compliance or won't be. I'm kind of in favor of not having it be part of our business, whether we issue the license or not based on the pool, but let them know if you do have it, you should conform to county standards.
well, technically, if they were to say on their application, they do not have a public facility and they add it later without reporting to the city, they're operating outside of their license and therefore subject to citations and revocation of license.
Yeah, but the last thing we need is to use our valuable staff time tracking down who added a hot tub to their backyard. And they could always say, oh, it's only for my personal use, you know.
And they'll have to
not
prove
for the
that, though.
Airbnb. And then we're going to be like, you know, the lengths it would take to
Yeah.
catch this if there weren't an important issue is pretty drastic. So I don't know. I guess I'm just not in favor of, if we have to have it, fine. But if we can stay out of the business of enforcing something we really, practically speaking, can't, I'm kind of leaning towards that approach. But again, I guess it's not the most elegant solution either.
So that approach would simply be then that we say that they have to be compliant. We don't talk about inspections or inspections being required. We just notice that they have to be compliant.
On this issue.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's other issues.
Yeah.
That are probably of greater concern, like fire and nuisance, trash, stuff that's going to really negatively affect the neighbors. That's not just kind of a general way from above liability cloud.
Yeah, certainly. But I mean, in this area, then, like you said, we won't be requiring a whole nother level of administration just to try and track it. And at the same time, we're at least notifying them they have to be compliant. We maybe could have an attachment which includes the information and what that entails.
Yeah, I think that'd be great to get them in touch. You know, phone numbers for public health, I think
Yeah.
should be important, and refer them to the appropriate sites.
And then the public health people can decide how deep they want to go in Dunsmuir based upon their professional.
So basically, what you're, just to be clear on what you're kind of getting at, what you're getting at is to amend out K, but keep it in the application that they provide that information.
No, the opposite. Keep K, because K relates to operational standards.
Okay,
In the application process, don't concern ourselves with what public facilities they have or don't have in consideration of the license.
Yeah, I think the clarifying point for me is letting the prospective Airbnb applicant know that there is a county regulation that they need to conform to. And if they choose to ignore that regulation and something happens, the liability is with them.
okay,
Yeah, exactly.
Well said.
okay. So then that would be a motion to amend the ordinance to remove section 17.04. I'm going to try and do this on my own. 0.040B, item 10.
Perfect.
And then in K, for the other one, we want to take out the reference to inspections and just say be compliant with state and what the city manager just said.
So the state regulations are actually do require inspections. So I think you're actually a little bit better covered. It's not saying that you are going to verify compliance with this. It's just simply saying is, hey, if you have these, if they're provided for use by your guests, they are public facilities and they are, and we can change if instead of saying and shall be subject to environmental health department review for compliance, is we can simply change that to are subject to review.
So quick point of order. I did make a motion and I didn't hear a second.
Second,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we jump. Look at.
do you want to
And then-
amend your motion to include the changing shall to are?
Yes, I'm okay with that friendly amendment.
And I'll second that then with the amendment. Okay.
Councilor Knox, question?
Well, I guess my legal question is, does the county requirement apply within a municipal jurisdiction like Dunsmuir?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you guys repeat it? Because the fans here, I cannot hear.
Sure. So it is a motion to amend the proposed ordinance to remove section 17.04.040 Section B, Item 10 in its entirety. And to amend, you're gonna have to give me the section number for the K.
17 40
040 point 060
Okay,
K to amend it from shall to are,
Perfect. From shall be to are.
from shall be to are. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was seconded by Councilmember Deutsch.
All right. We had one question on it already, but is there any further discussion on the amendment to the ordinance?
Could somebody explain what it does?
Basically, we aren't going to require them to get an initial inspection, but we do basically cover ourselves in liability by saying that that should probably be inspected by Siskiyou County Health.
Not should be inspected,
We
but it is,
encourage
but
it.
it is a
We encourage them.
requirement that it be inspected by the county.
So this was the point of my question.
So
So
we're
what
not
is
going to
it?
concern ourselves with inspecting it since we don't have that authority and it's going to be difficult for us to do that. But we are going to basically, anyone who does apply for a short-term rental and we notice on their application, or when we notice that there's something related to that, we will refer them to,
What if they don't say a word about their laundry facilities and their hot tub?
well, we'll see it on the initial inspection from our side of it. But we will say, hey, we noticed a hot tub, you should contact Siskiyou.
Could you just attach a copy of the county requirements to the
Well,
application?
it allows us to issue license with notice that they should comply with the county, but we're not making it a point of you can't operate based on the compliance of your hot tub with Siskiyou County. That being said, the county requires us to say you should be in compliance.
So the city manager, Enrico, favors shall and you favor should.
No, I think we're all actually in agreement that if the council wishes to do this, that it simply be changed to are so that it properly advises the operators that they're required to get this done. And I think you're right, Councilmember Arth. I think that it's very simple to put this as a note on the application for the short-term rental that please note pools, spas, saunas, and shared laundry facilities, if provided for use by guests, are considered public facilities and are subject to Environmental Health Department review for compliance with state regulations. Please call 841-2100 to schedule your appointment with Siskiyou County Environmental Health.
that should be supplied at the time of the application.
Yeah, we can have it on our website.
But that's not part of the motion.
Yes, that was part of,
Motion.
We have not made a motion to add those regulations to the application, but we can still.
oh, correct. To the, are you talking about the R?
We already talked about that. We still have to talk about year or not year.
Well, no,
Well, we're still
Stepping
on the
back.
motion at hand.
the motion is an amendment to the ordinance, and it just covers removing it from the application process. That's to say, it's not a requirement to show that you are in compliance with the county with your public facilities in order to apply. You can apply, receive your license without being there. However, based upon the operational standards that you're signing up to adhere to, you need to be in compliance with the county health guidelines.
Absolutely, I agree. One point of order on this, since we are eliminating an item in the ordinance, do we want to renumber everything after that? Is that part of it?
I
No,
think the
that's-
common sense will allow for a reordering based on.
You can reorder. That's not a significant change in the text.
Good call.
So we have a motion to second.
All right, any further discussion?
Just procedurally for Mr. Bush's benefit in mind, what we're doing tonight is trying to pass this thing on first reading.
To the second.
So my assumption is any changes we make tonight will be reflected in a revised ordinance
For the
for
second.
the second reading.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
And we adopt it on the second reader and goes to a third.
No, it's an adoption at the second reading, and then there's a 30-day ratification period.
Thank you.
All right, that being said, let's call a vote. Perhaps a roll call vote for this one?
Councilmember Arth,
No.
Councilmember Deutsch,
Yes.
Councilmember Keisler,
Yes,
Councilmember Lucchese,
Yes.
Mayor Brian.
All right, is there any other item that any council members would like to bring forward for discussion, possible amendments, aside from the main issue that had the attachment A and attachment B, the 1 year.
Those were my only issues.
I'm fine with option B, taking out the 1 year.
Okay. Is that a motion?
I move we take out, I move we go with option B.
Option B is what? A year?
No
without
year.
the year.
Without the year.
I'll second that motion.
Sounds like there's a certain degree of consensus here. So there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Motion at hand.
No, I'm very pleased. Thank you, Rico, for the changes, and it's a better ordinance because of it.
That's the process. Thank you for the comments.
Thank you for your time, efforts, and for fixing your speaker.
Yes, and yeah, thank you everyone involved. It's going to be really important getting this ordinance in place for what Airbnb could become in our future. It's kind of an evolving situation. All right, is there any, see no further discussion? Can we move into a roll call vote?
Well, just are we on just that simple change in that one thing, or we're not yet to the whole motion?
This is the full motion.
Well, no. My understanding is we were just choosing B, but were there other points of
Okay,
discussion?
wait, he's right. Gotta read
Yeah,
this way.
it's true. No,
No. You can pick the option first. I
yeah,
just,
we can do that
I wanted
first.
to clarify that I think we're all in consensus for going for
Well, then
B.
let's go with this real quick. Motion for choosing option B. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think you've got to read it with the
No,
sequence.
We'll do it now, we'll do it
you'll
next.
do that.
Oh, okay.
I have another discussion.
Aye.
Against. Motion carries unanimously. We're going with option B, no year-long wait.
Now,
So I wanted to make one discussion point, and I will let you know about this. I have a little bee in my bonnet in terms of licensing, and I do think there needs to be a license cap at some point. So at the next meeting, I will be making a motion to review this in at least 1 year, 1 calendar year, and at least charge the planning commission to review how this is going and discussion if we do need a cap or not. I just wanted to put it on the record for the first reading that, from the people that I've heard from, I understand that it's kind of a perceived issue with taking up housing units with short-term rentals that are an enterprise that do have tax revenue. But there is, I think, a greater desire from some members of the public to see those housing units used for long-term residents, whether they be long-term renters, long-term owners. So I just wanted to bring up that point that I don't want to send this back to Planning Commission at this time and recommend a change for the license cap. But I think it is something that we should review at least in 1 calendar year post ratification.
Yeah, I think most people would be in favor of looking at the data at the very least.
Yeah.
I would point out from myself, though, that a lot of the driving force behind the decisions we're making is the vacancy factor in Dunsmuir. I know that's not the perception of the problem. The perception is short-term rentals, but based on the numbers, I'm more interested in the data behind 1 year into enforcement of vacant building ordinance.
Yeah.
How is our vacancy rate going down?
Yeah.
So I kind of moved it when we have that conversation, we keep those pieces together.
I agree.
And for clarification, are we referring to, so this ordinance will become effective January 1st, 2022? Are we
Okay.
talking about 1 year from this time or 1 year from January 2022?
That's why I wanted to bring it up tonight, because I'll probably make a motion at the next meeting to be January 2023 for review.
Okay, thank you.
okay, just a minute.
All
May
right, you may.
I move. We make, this is wrong, I move we make the findings that project exempt CEQA that we introduce and read ordinance 570, including as attachment D, as amended by title only, and that we direct staff to bring back ordinance 570B as amended back for adoption at the next regular meeting.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion at hand?
Thank you to all the people that put work in on this. I know it's been a contentious item, and I think you all handled it well. Thank you.
All right,
Mayor Burns.
seeing no further, Councilman Ock.
Well, I'm looking at the final section 6. This ordinance shall become effective 30 days after its passage, 15 days after adoption, a summary that shall be published in the daily news. So if I'm a new entrant or an existing entrant, how long do I have to comply? What do I need to do?
January 1.
Now, where's the?
Sorry,
January-
go ahead, Rico.
You're absolutely correct. January 1, 2022. It has that in. So the ordinance does go into effect.
23. So do those two fit together? I don't think they do.
Well, so you ratify an ordinance, it doesn't necessarily, it takes effect in terms of the licensing. So since we have a specific date listed within there for compliance, that's the date that people would need to come into compliance. But the ratification means that it'll be on the books within 30 days of passing, assuming that there's no appeal to the court system.
But for the rest of the summer, you could burn wood in your backyard.
Yes.
Correct.
Well, no, because there are fire orders in place. That's a
Well-
separate thing.
But the guests are not advised.
So we are not enforcing this ordinance until January 1st, 2022.
All right, is there further discussion on that point?
Can we make an extra motion to make sure that they get all the paperwork that they need when they get the application? Is that what you're looking for, information? When they get an application, that they are informed of the rules and regulations?
As far as the county requirements, yes.
Okay,
That just covers pools, hot tubs, laundry facilities.
I don't think we
do I
know.
need to make a motion, or is that already included in their
I
packet?
No, we can just,
Make sure.
we can just pass it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, we got that part of it.
All right, I'm going to call a vote. Could we do a roll call vote, Wendy, please?
Councilmember R.
If that's me,
Councilmember Deutsch.
Aye.
Councilmember Keisler.
Aye.
Councilmember Lucchese.
Aye.
Mayor Bryan.
Motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Mayor, before we leave, I wanted to take an opportunity just to point out that at our last meeting, when we dealt with the budget, we did have some contentious discussion, but beyond that, I think that we missed an opportunity to recognize the hard work that was put in by all the department heads, city manager, finance director, finance committee, et cetera, in putting that budget together. And to have so much good information of it, I think we should have a moment to celebrate all the work that they've done and appreciate the professionalism they put into it.
Yeah, I would like to echo that. It's definitely the most comprehensive projection for Dunsmuir we've had in a long time. All right, move us into future agenda items. So there is no new business for tonight. I'd just like to say, I'm fairly certain if there's no strong objections because of at least one schedule conflict, because most of the items up are going to be consent, that we don't hold a meeting back to back next week, but that we defer to our first August meeting.
You mean July?
Next
Oh,
week.
you're right.
Yeah, that we defer to our first meeting in August.
So basically, we would not have any other meetings for the rest of the month.
Correct, yeah.
Unless something comes up.
Yeah, I was, well, you know, I checked with,
Like I said, everything pretty much consent item.
Well, the issue is you can't approve an ordinance on a special agenda. You can only do the first reading. And so if we do a second reading for this ordinance, it would have to go to the next week, Thursday's
we
meeting,
go to the next regular meeting.
or
which
the
would be
first in August.
The second reading, if we skip the meeting, would be August 5th.
Yeah, and the reason for tonight is unfortunately Rico couldn't make any of our regular meetings till September. So we had to hold this one with Rico. The next one, unfortunately, will not be in attendance, but I think we've had a very thorough examination tonight.
And I will have something for you for the second reading as well to make your lives easier. But I will hopefully be with my feet in the cold water of the Puget Sound on the 5th.
Excellent.
Clean, smoke-free air, hopefully.
So on the agenda, we're going to have, of course, this ordinance moving its way forward. We have visioning as an item we'd like to revisit. It's not something that we are currently going to be able to tackle in the traditional format, but I haven't lost sight of that. I think we should probably, in conjunction with the planning grant we're going after, talk about how that would fit together. I know there was some mention of that last meeting, but that one's still on the books for an item we want to consider. And it kind of goes into visioning slash advancement of possible, business improvement district, et cetera. We should be having our 218s coming up probably in the fall, but prior to that, we might have some approval of a contract. My hope is probably the next meeting, or the meeting after, with funds.
You mean for solid waste?
Oh, sorry, solid waste, yeah.
Well, it depends on how the discussions go and what kind of changes are needed. We're hopeful. I mean, it's not anything that's,
I got a response from Diana, so I have to look over her edits of the contract.
Okay, but just be aware, we got a lot of utility work ahead of us coming up, probably starting in about a month for council.
And then I do have the passenger rail letter that I put together and sent to the two of you and never heard back. So if we can put that on consent to get that
Yeah,
out,
I looked at it,
that'd
it
be
looks great.
great. Thank you. Councilmember Art has a comment.
Councilmember Art.
Well, I mean, we continue to give lip service to vision and planning. And I really appreciate Louis Dewey as one of the longest surviving members of this community, saying that in terms of balance, it's hard to do something like a short-term planning ordinance for bed and breakfast and Airbnb without doing any sort of planning on housing, without asking the community how they feel. This ordinance is going to land on them and they're going to say, what the heck is this? Because it really doesn't fit into any kind of plan. And we've been promising the business community, you have, the city manager and I, we're going to listen to them, and yet we can't find time to do that. So we have half of the survey to the citizens that we abandoned last year. We have the sniff of maybe we'll get a consultant, maybe we'll do a business improvement district, but the feel I get is it'll probably be September or December before we even seriously embrace the notion of planning and visioning as we try to rebuild our community. And I don't get it.
I think we can discuss that at the next meeting.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to both discuss it and have an action.
And then probably at the second meeting in August, we should plan on having a closed session for a review. City
Yes.
manager, it's his anniversary, second year complete. Thank you,
And I
Todd.
do have city manager review surveys from the League of California Cities that I'll send out to everybody ahead of time. I know that was one of your requests, Councilmember Art, so we'll have that this year.
And in relation to that, we'll need to select our voting delegates for the next Cal Cities Expo in September 22nd.
Okay.
It's in Sacramento. this
And
week.
I think the next pre-agenda meeting will be Councilwoman Lucchese and myself. Is that
Don't we
correct?
have a-
correct. And I've got everything on the skeleton agenda, except for the passenger rail letter. So, and
Don't we
I'll-
have a Lola thing that you're hosting coming up?
Oh yeah,
Um,
when is Lola?
Yeah, we're hosting it.
So we've greatly struggled. The original restaurant that seemed hopeful to be able to cater and or do it backed out. Unfortunately, we've had real difficulty getting any of the restaurants in Dunsmuir on board. We'll know tomorrow whether we're going to be postponing it.
I
or we
have
can
an
find
update.
something.
I have an update.
Okay, we'll know
Okay.
tomorrow whether we're going to be postponing it or moving forward, but it will be on the 21st.
I,
He has an update.
Well, we're not
Sure.
going to discuss it till
Okay.
we.
it's happening.
It's happening?
It's
She
happening.
pulled a rabbit out of a hat today.
Cool.
All right. I like the rabbit.
So the 21st.
21st.
21st,
Mr. Mayor and fellow colleagues,
you should be getting a invitation very shortly.
as most of you guys know, the river exchange is like disbanded. And I went fishing the other day and I was appalled. Appalled. The condition of our river is hideous. I know we haven't had a river cleanup in a couple years, and by God, it's time. So I'm going to approach the Rotary and I'm going to be approaching council for approval to do a river cleanup. I don't care if it's Big Dave River Cleanup Day. I'll go out there with all my buddies, but I'll be bringing it, making it public, and I'll see if I can get Gary's Pizza to sponsor some pizzas for a lunch after everybody works. But I'm trying to bring back a river cleanup day, and I'm going to ask the Rotary to help me, and I'll be bringing it at the next meeting on August 5th to council for approval. And your consent for me to do it.
All right, thank you. Are there any other items at this point? Being none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
And a motion that we adjourn.
Second. All right, motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you,
Against?
everybody.
Juliana.
Meeting adjourned.